Many people think that for a person to become wealthy, other people must lose wealth because it's a limited pie that is sliced up unequally. I think wealth can be created through innovation, for example, and therefore not limited. What is your opinion of this?
Well, Justin, you would be correct.
This is a great philosophical...
The pie theory is someone that is ignorant of basic economics. The size of the economy shrinks. That's called recession. Grows too fast and too much. It's called inflation. The economy is constantly growing in size. The number of dollars moving around the economy today is way different than it was in 1776, darling. So this idea that we've simply been swapping at the size of the slices of the pie around since 1776, we would all still be living in log cabins shooting muskets. That's dumb, okay? Obviously, the economy, the size of it changes. So you don't, if someone that believes that by getting money that someone else is being taken from automatically is a fixed pie theory, and it just shows ignorance of economics. It's that simple. A good way to explain, I love Rabbi Lappin's picture. It's one of my favorites of all times on this. He said, the economy, and he's an Orthodox Jewish rabbi, wrote a wonderful book called Thou Shalt Prosper, about prosperity. He said, and he addresses this exact issue. He says, the economy is not a pie where if you get a bigger slice, someone else gets a smaller slice. The economy is more like a candle. When you light it, it doesn't take away from yours. It just adds light. And so the economy, because money moves just exactly like that. You can show several examples on how money actually grows. So Justin, you're right. Innovation is a good example of that. And so money is literally created, and no one is the lesser for it. Now, if there were only two people on the planet, when George took some of my money, I would have less, he would have more.
If we both placed a bet and I was right and Dave gives me his money, he lost, I win. That's where that would make sense.
Exactly.
But the stock market is different. If an Apple share goes up in value because the company is worth more and they make great products, nobody lost in that scenario.
It's because they sold more of those little iPhone thingies. Hello. And that's why Apple has more money than Egypt, literally. And so it's pretty crazy. Yeah, but that's it. And so it's economies are created. And you can also, another place to look at that, Egypt made it come to mind, but not picking on Egypt. That's just a joke, but it also happens to be statistically true. But if you go to a country that is underdeveloped, that has a weak economy, what is the difference in that and what we call a developed country where it has a strong and booming economy? It's not that one of them was issued a larger pie by God. It's that the booming economy grew by innovation, by industriousness, by service, by whatever it is they're doing, and it causes the dollars or the currency.
And the GDP will expand.
The GDP, the gross domestic product, which is the total of all goods and services sold in an economy. And so, and that's why some of these comparisons by some of these wealthy quality people are the people like they're arguing back during Obamacare. They're arguing about, well, Norway has free health care. Well, Norway's economy is the size of Atlanta's. It's not even in the same ballpark. It's like tricycles go slower than motorcycles too, honey. So, I mean, it's like, no kidding. It's a different thing. They don't even belong in the same sentence. Again, just shows the sheer freaking ignorance of people on basic economic stuff. Well, Norway has free health care. Well, so does Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I mean, no, it doesn't. But, I mean, good God, that doesn't even show up, y'all. I mean, come on. So it's the same kind of thing that goes on. But it always comes back to the underlying emotion is hope versus hopelessness, is scarcity mentality versus abundance mentality. The people that Justin that are coming at you with this, they have Eeyore as their spirit animal. It's like, oh, it's bad. It's always going to be bad. It's always been bad. The little man can't get ahead. because the big guy's taking all the pie. And there's perpetual freaking whining. It's unbelievable. Instead of getting up, throwing your shoulders back, leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home. Shut up.
So it's basically I'm broke because other people are rich, and that's not fair.
Because I refuse to actually look at the real problem, which is the guy in my mirror. You know, it's like I'm going to blame Dunkin' Donuts because I have a belly, because I can't stay away from their donuts. It's not Dunkin' Donuts' fault. It's Dave's fault. He eats too many freaking donuts. That's Dave's fault. You know, there's a reason I don't look like Mr. Universe. And it's not Dunkin' Donuts' fault.
Depends what universe.
Or well, that's true. But Krispy Kreme either, by the way. So we'll just be a multiple.
It's their fault for making addictive products.
You know, it's their fault. They made an addictive product. All that sugar just made me want to stand over there every time the hot light comes on. Oh, my God. Am I a victim of this? No. Okay, so me too, boys and girls, me too. But you need to decide who you're going to blame in this, because it's the difference between scarcity mentality and abundance mentality. It's the difference between fixed pie and candles. It's the difference between hopelessness and hope. It's the difference between victor and victim. And all of these things line up, and those things make you are the things that are going to make you successful or not successful, not the fact that someone got yours so you can't get it out of the little fixed pie. I think I need a cheesecake now.
I think I'm getting hungry thinking about all this.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of food in this, all these analogies.
Well, the extension of this is, should billionaires exist? I've seen this come about. Well, billionaires just should not exist, Dave. Apparently, once you hit 999 million, that's it. You're fine. You're a good person. Once you hit billionaire, apparently you become a terrible, awful human being. Is it true?
I thought it was millionaire, but I mean, I've heard
changed
everything.
The game.
Yeah, it's like wealth is evil. No, it's not. People are stupid. Wealth is not evil. Well, money is just like a brick. You can build a hospital with it, or you can throw it through a window. The brick doesn't care. But when you put it in the hands of a human being, you discover whether that human being is a moron or not. You discover whether they're a jerk or not. You discover whether they're a sweet, giving, generous person or not. When you hand people money, it doesn't cause them to become something. It reveals who they already are. Well, money ruined my children. No, darling, your children were already idiots. You handed them money and proved it.
It just lets them, that fire, add some gasoline on it.
That's not. I mean, it's not it. That's just ridiculous. So this idea that, you know, somehow wealth is evil. Well, I mean, the Bible says that money is the root of all evil. See, that's what happens if you get your theology off of TikTok. The Bible does not say that. It says the love of money is the root of all evil, which is an indication not of anything about money or amounts of money. It's an indication of the character of the individual that touched it. So if you're going to practice dadgum Christian doctrine, actually learn it before you open your mouth. God, this stuff is so aggravating to me. And so this idea that somehow someone has done something wrong in America because they went and helped a lot of people and made a lot of money in the process. No one was pissed off when I sold a $12 book called Financial Peace out of the back of my car, and I sold 10 of them, and I was starving to death. When I sold 10 million of them, somehow people got pissed off.
Now you're greedy, Dave.
Now I'm greedy, and I take advantage of poor people. Oh, my God. See, this is the problem if you ever read comments. If you read the comments after articles, you know why some species kill their young. So, oh my gosh. Why Refi refinances delinquent private student loans for struggling borrowers. Learn more at yrefy.com/Ramsey. We are neck deep in the middle of an election season, and I'll be early voting this week, and then I'm going to be away from the microphone a little while. So I'm going to take a minute here and walk you guys through something, and just stay with me a minute, okay? So here's the thing. Most people in America have already decided who they're going to vote for. You agree with that?
Yes.
The idea that there's a big block of undecided people out there wandering around is kind of absurd, really. There's really not a bunch of people walking around with their head in a fog and go, oh, I think all of a sudden I need to learn about this. It's like, no, you know about it. Everybody's talking about it. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. We're sick of it. We're tired of all these people. We're sick of the whole freaking thing. Most of us, anyway. I mean, some of you are really into it. You're not sick of it. You just love every moment of it, and you're going to be desperately have a political hangover in the middle of November. But anyway, the rest of us are like, yeah, okay, we got it. We know what we're going to do, and there's not a big block of undecideds that are going to swing this election. I'll tell you who I do want to address, though. There is a large block of people that are not planning to vote at all. And I'm going to be straight with you. I think that's a mistake, okay? And I want to walk through with you just a basic decision-making paradigm on that idea. So my friend Simon Sinek, who wrote the book Start With Why, Infinite Game, many others, we've spoken on stages together. We've been in think tanks together. We've been friends for years. I follow him on Instagram. It popped up on his Instagram, Rachel, yesterday or day before yesterday that he had interviewed President Joe Biden. And the interview on his podcast, by the way, folks, landed last night, and I was able to listen to it this morning. It is really good. It's really good. I did a really good interview with Donald Trump, and if you haven't seen that, you ought to watch it, but this is better. It's better. Simon did a better job than I did, and to the point that I saw things in Joe Biden that I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoy getting information and perspective on things that I didn't have. I'm not challenged. My belief system isn't challenged because I learned something about someone I disagree with that I actually like.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't cause me to melt down. So anyway, I'm going to recommend highly that you go to Simon Sinek's podcast and listen to this interview. It's really good. Obviously, President Joe Biden is not in the thing. Oh, by the way, side note, some of you that were griping about me interviewing President Trump kept telling me it's former President Trump, it's former President Trump. No, that's not correct protocol. I have a friend that passed away a few years ago that was the ambassador to France. It was Ambassador Joe Rogers. He was a Tennessean. He lived here in Nashville. I knew him in the real estate business. And from the time he was an ambassador in France, the rest of his life he was known as Ambassador Rogers. Everywhere I went that he was introduced as Ambassador Rogers. If you introduce Bill Clinton, you introduce him as President Clinton, President Bill Clinton, not former President Clinton. Someone who served as a senator for the rest of their lives, they're called a senator. That is normal protocol. So some of you that are mouthing off about that, you're just wrong. You don't know what the flip you're talking about, as usual, when you're running your dadgum mouth on stuff like that. Okay, so anyway.
That was a sidebar.
By the way, I'll tell you another one.
No, stick with your points. You need to go. You never do this. You never do this.
You need to go watch Brett Baer tonight. Brett, one of the more level-headed people on Fox, has gotten an interview with Vice President Harris.
Oh, great.
The one I wished I had gotten.
Yes, yeah.
And you need to go watch that. I'm going to be watching it. I'll recommend that one as well. Because Brett's pretty...
I like all, yeah.
He's pretty straight. He's not blah, 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 blah. He's not going crazy, yeah. So, here's the thing. 49% of evangelical Christians surveyed right now say they're not going to vote.
Wait, how many?
49%.
Dang.
That's my brothers and sisters in Christ, because they're disgusted with the quality of the character of both candidates in their minds. That's what the thing comes out. And that's understandable. 16% of gun owners say they're not going to vote. And that's just because they don't want to get on the grid. They don't want anybody to know where they are, because some of you are just weirdos, okay? And you don't have to be a weirdo. You don't have to be a weirdo to have a gun. I've got guns.
No, I will vote. But I do think they know a lot about us.
They know a lot about us. I don't think voting is going to cause them to know more or less.
I know. Okay, keep going.
So here's the thing. You're not voting for a savior. If so, neither one of these would be qualified. You're not even voting for a pastor. If so, neither one of these would be qualified. What happens in your house is more important to your success than what happens in the White House. But what happens in the White House does affect your life, and to not vote at all out of disgust is bad decision-making paradigm. You should make a list of the 8 or 10 issues that are out there and which side each candidate falls on. And regardless of the candidate themselves, I don't believe in voting on a single issue. If you want to vote single issue voter, you can, but I don't vote on a single issue. There's not a single issue that I will vote on above everything else. I mean, there's things that are more important or less important, but like, you know, there are people that say, okay, pro-choice or pro-life. I will not vote anything except that on any other issue. I could disagree with them on everything, and they'll still get my vote because of that. I don't believe in that. I believe in looking at the whole thing and saying, okay, there's the economy, there's inflation, there's interest rates, there's taxes. Which candidate falls on the side of those things that you believe you can fix or that they're going to impact? There's the border, the immigration issue that is real. Which candidate falls on that? Check the box, right? Check the box. Pro-life, pro-abortion. Okay? Well, it's Democrat and Republican very clearly on that. Okay? Although Trump is not going to do anything on a federal level for pro-life. He's just going to let the overturn of Roe v. Wade run its course and the states decide. Kamala's going to be pro-abortion, period. And they've said this very clearly. I mean, it's a standard plank in their party, okay? Pro-Second Amendment. No question which one you're going to check there on which. If you're pro-gun or you're anti-gun, okay? If you're anti-gun, you need to vote for Vice President Harris.
Even though she has one.
If you're pro-gun rights, just because you got one doesn't matter. If you're pro-gun rights, you cannot put a check over there. And I'm not going to vote on a single issue. Okay, who? If you're really concerned about the social issues around woke,
can I jump in? What about writing in a name? Does that count?
You can, but I think one of these two is going to be president, and you should participate. That's
yes, but if I have a conviction as an American to actively vote, because I do believe in that.
Yep.
If someone out there just to even, practice that action, write someone in.
Yep. So I'm going to tell you, I'm voting for Donald Trump, not because I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Are we going here?
That's okay. But because I checked those boxes, and more of those are on that side than on the other side. I'm going to hold my nose, and I'm going to vote.
I might vote for Ken Coleman. That's who I might write in.
Ken Coleman. We could vote for Ken Coleman, but I'm not. Definitely not. I have voted in every single election since I turned 18 years old, presidential election or otherwise. I've not missed a single time to cast my vote as an American. I believe it's a patriotic duty. I believe it is a right. And I got to tell you, I think every single vote I've ever cast, I disagreed with the person I voted for on at least something, or I wished something was different about them. And so, as my friend Stephen Mansfield so eloquently put a while back, he said, all of us, if we're honest and have good decision-making skills and independent thought, all of us are not worshipers of candidates. Now, there are some of you that are worshipers of candidates, and you lose your freaking minds on this stuff. But I'm not one of them, okay? I'm looking at ideas and which ideas land on which side of the aisle. Where am I most likely going to get a tax policy I like, an immigration policy I like, a foreign policy I like? Where am I most likely to get a gun policy I like, a climate change policy I like, a woke policy I like, that I agree with? Where am I most likely to get that? And I can check those boxes very clearly, very quickly on these two candidates. And then based on that, none of them are going to be 100% on what I want them to be in personal character, in personality style, in history, in even where they stand on the issues. None of them are 100% on exactly who I want them to be. So that means 100% of the votes I have cast, and I've voted in every election, I've held my nose and voted anyway. There's something I didn't like, but I voted anyway for the one that most aligned with all the different issues, plus or minus, right? Mm-hmm. Again, I've never thought I was voting for a savior, and I never thought I was voting for a pastor. Some of you think you are, and that has you all disillusioned. But I don't think you could find a president that you go back and go, well, this was a holy man. This was Billy Graham. There's no Billy Graham ever been in the White House, okay? It just hasn't. It doesn't happen. There's some that were better than others, some that were more slimy than others, for sure. But it's not like their job. Billy Graham, that was his job. And so it's a different thing. So I suggest you hold your nose and you vote. And that's what I don't mean I think they stink and I'm saying there's something I disagree with and I'm going to vote anyway. And that's how I made the decision to vote for Trump. was the boxes that were checked. And if you want to vote the other way, as long as you're being thoughtful about it and you're being a nice person, we're still friends. I'm okay with you. I'm not mad at you. Some of you are never going to listen to me again after this. That's okay. I can deal with that. That's happened to me for 30 years. People have threatened me with, I'm going to cancel you. That's hard to do. I own the show. And so you're not going to get to cancel me. So you can leave, but you can't cancel me. So that's what I want to talk about. And then the other thing I want to tell you guys, speaking of interviews, I want you to pick up Simon's interview, Simon Sinek, pick up Brett Baer's interview on the politics, non-politics, 98% non. We actually got to sit down long form and hang out with Ben Shapiro last week, and that landed today on the Ramsey Network app, and tomorrow it'll be on our podcast and on our YouTube. And so don't miss Ben Shapiro. Very brilliant guy, long-form interview. We got to talk about Judaism. He's an Orthodox Jew. I'm a Christian. And we've got a lot of friends in both camps, and we had a great discussion on some of that stuff. Marriage issues. Ben on marriage. That's something very different. Yeah, interesting. Because his mind's like a freaking steel trap. He's, very interesting. So, very cool.
Talks about life.
Yeah, we did. And so be sure and tune in for all that.
It's great.
So what do you want to add to that? Anything? You just wish I hadn't gone there or what?
No, it's not that I wish you hadn't gone there. I'm shocked you did to a degree. I was like, oh my gosh, are we saying who we're voting for right now? No, I think, last time we were in Epcot with our kids, I made my girls go to the American Adventure. It's a show in the America part of Epcot, and it's about American history. It's 30 minutes long, and they have Roosevelt. They have all these presidents that come and tell the history of America. And you leave that, and you just think, I am proud. I am proud to be an American, even though there were elements of our history that we're not proud of, but who we are as this country. So I think the rights and the responsibility to vote is huge, and I think that's an older generational thing. So I kind of see you as Papa Dave a little bit in that segment of like, hey, especially to the younger generation. I think it's more of the younger ones that don't feel the seriousness of voting. So I love the message of go vote.
Your vote does count.
Yes, go vote, because I think that is a part of America that's beautiful. And so do it.
And by not voting, you can swing an election.
Yes, for sure.
Big time.
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
Yeah. So vote for who you agree with. I agree.
So,
I think that's a great point.
If Kamala, because of this speech, is a landslide, and you guys all exercise your vote, I'll take that.
Yes.
I'm fine.
Yes.
I'm fine. That's okay.
Yes.
Because I want you to get up off your butts. I want you to think clearly for yourself. Don't stick your head so far up your party that you can't think. And some people do. They can't. Everything that's on that side is right. No, it's not. No, it's not. And all the people that are on that side are right. No. I have met kookazoids on both sides. I mean, complete crazy people that should be in a padded cell. And don't tell me everybody that falls on one side or the other is right. They're not. They're just not. They're just, some of them are, so you're not voting for a savior, folks. Anyway, all right, last thing you're going to hear on politics and Ramsey for a long, long time, I hope. And because I really don't want to become those, I don't want to do a political show. It's not what I want to do. I don't even enjoy it. Rachel actually enjoys it somewhat. We have some great Rachel one-sided family discussions at dinner about all this stuff. But
one-sided? Just me, a monologue?
Yeah.
Just monologuing?
We definitely have you stirred up, for sure. And what the Bible says, that the borrower is slave to the lender. Because your most powerful wealth-building tool is your income. And when you haven't committed your income in the form of payments to everybody else, you can invest it and become wealthy. Really. The average car payment in America today is $503. That's just cray-cray. That's nutty. If you invest $500 in a decent growth stock mutual fund from age 30 to age 70, you'll have over $5 million. That one thing will make you worth $5 million. Getting out of them land of car payments and staying out of them. Isn't that amazing? And so I've become known for getting people out of debt. And the only reason I get people out of debt is because it increases their generosity and increases their ability to invest and become wealthy, which also increases their generosity. And it changes your life. It changes your family tree. It changes your retirement. You retire with dignity. You don't have to buy that cookbook, 72 Ways to Prepare Alpo, and love it. You can retire with dignity. But you have to do it on purpose. And getting out of debt in order to invest is the shortest way. And what is amazing to me is that almost the entire financial industry focuses on one part of the equation, and that's the investing part of the equation, and they all have a bunch of theories. Now, I've had all the letters and licenses after my name. I have a degree in finance. I've had all the licenses in the business, dropped all of them because I didn't want to be regulated what I could say here on the air. The only license I still have active is my real estate license. I've had it since I was 18, and they don't regulate much, so I'm going to keep that one. But, the rest of it is just, it is amazing the number of people in the financial world, whether they're financial advisors, writers, bloggers, whatever they do, that have opinions about money that don't have any money, and whose track record on teaching people to invest and getting them to invest sucks. 3% of the public is where all of those people make their money, off wealthy people. They make all their money off wealthy people. And most of the advisors out there won't fool with you if you don't have some money. They don't want to sit down and talk to you. And so we started teaching people, of course, all these years ago, how we invest. And then as we've met with many, many, many thousands of millionaires over the years, how did they invest? What are they doing? Well, we suggest, and I personally invest in good growth stock mutual funds. I spread it across 4 types: growth and income, growth, aggressive growth, and international. And I buy mutual funds that have at least a 10-year track record. Well, Dave, shouldn't you just buy index funds? Well, you can if you want. Index funds, basically an S&P 500 fund, mirrors the market. That basically is the stock market. And so you're going to do exactly what the stock market does, good or bad. The mutual funds that I buy outperform the S&P 500. And they're really not that hard to find. A lot of mutual funds don't outperform the S&P 500. So if you're going to buy that, well, that'd be dumb. Just buy an S&P 500. But I buy mutual funds that outperform the S&P 500, and my portfolio mix that I just outlined is pretty much always beats the market because I buy funds that outperform the market. It's not that hard to do. You open up the prospectus, and there's 2 little lines on the graph. One of them is the S&P 500. If the mutual fund you're looking at, if that line is below that S&P 500 line, don't buy that fund. Duh. This is hard. Really not that much to this. But, Dave, you just tell people buy those loaded funds. Yeah, those, pay a commission. That's fine. Have somebody in your life helping you do the investing. All the data says that you'll continue to invest doing that. But when you're out there by yourself with all your theories, and they some idiot newscaster comes on the evening news predicting the end of the world, what do? You cash out all your mutual funds at exactly the wrong time because you don't have anybody in your corner saying, don't jump, don't jump. Instead, you're just out there with your own emotions and the newscaster. And that's how you pick out when you jump in or out of the market, and that's just dumb. So all the data says a decent portfolio of good performing mutual funds wins. And the big thing is actually putting money into the mutual funds, actually investing. One piece of research shows that 74% of the reason of retirement success is doing it. It's called savings rate. The number of you that put money in versus talk about it and continually put money in. Year after year, year after year, year after year, month after month, week after week, out of your check, into your 401k, over and over and over and over and over again. This is how you get wealthy. You do not get wealthy by saving on fees because fees don't keep you from getting wealthy. That's ludicrous. These are theories promoted by people who don't do anything. And most of them don't have any money. So I'm a multimillionaire, and I pay mutual fund fees to my broker. Boom. Just like that. Did you hear that? And you know why? Because I need a broker in my life. I need somebody that's an advisor. I know a lot about mutual funds, but I don't pick my own. I let them pick out 4 or 5. I'm not going through 8,000 mutual funds. I have what's known as a life. I'm going to actually have, pick out 3 or 4 dudes, and I'm going to sit down with you. We're going to look at them. I'm going to pick out that. It takes me about 30 seconds. And let me tell you how I pick mutual funds. About 80% of the choice on my mutual fund, 85%, is based on its rate of return, its track record. I look, if the track record's tied and I'm trying to look, I look for the longest track record. Who's been doing it a long time? I like neighborhoods with big oak trees when I'm buying real estate. You see what I'm saying? I like a long track record, something stable. I don't like risk. I like to make money. Risk equals not making money for me, big risk anyway. And I pay the fee. Now, I'll look at the fees and see if the fees are unusually high, and I might pick a fund if everything else is equal that has a lower fee. But I'm not so, some people are stepping over $5 bills trying to pick up pennies, worrying about these fees. And, I saved $57 out of $1,000. Woo, you're getting rich. That's not what's getting you rich, dude. It's the fact that the fund is invested in something that's going up in value, and you do it over and over and over and over again. And don't jump in and out of the market based on what's going on. It's going down, I'm scared. It's going up, I'm greedy. That's called chasing returns. This is the best way to lose your butt. Get in there and just stay in there and just ride it and ride it and ride it. We're going to talk about these 4 types of mutual funds a little bit more when we come back. Thank you for joining us, America. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. Open phones at 888-825-5225. You jump in. We'll talk about your life and your money. We're talking about mutual funds and how to invest to become wealthy. We should spread it across 4 types: growth and income, growth, aggressive growth, and international. Well, let's talk about those for a second, because there's all kinds of names for mutual funds, and the name of the mutual fund tells you what is in the fund. Okay? A growth and income fund is also called a large cap fund, or sometimes also called a blue chip fund. Now, the blue chip is the most expensive chip on the poker table, so that means these are big companies in this. Large cap is short for large capitalization. Large capitalization means these are large companies. And so your growth and income funds are large companies. Boring. Of the 4 types of mutual funds that I put money into and I recommend, this is the calmest. If you were to chart this volatility on this fund versus the stock market, you would see it's a lot calmer than the market. And so it's your friend when things are going down, in other words. It's your stable. It's the big old dinosaur companies. They're boring. When things are going up, by the way, it's also boring. It's not exciting when things are going up. It's a downer. You look at that thing going, why is it not doing well when the rest of the market's going up? Because it goes slower than the market up and slower than the market down, because this is stable land. Stable land. A growth fund is right in the middle. The S&P 500 index fund would be considered a growth fund. A growth fund is companies that are growing. They're kind of medium-sized companies, so you might hear it called mid-cap fund. And so, these are just standard growth stock mutual funds. There's a whole lot of these out there. Ton of funds that fall in this area. So the idea is pretty simple. The growth fund, that's kind of right there in the middle. You want something in the middle when it's pretty much going to do about what the market does in terms of volatility, but you can get mutual funds that are growth stock mutual funds that outperform the S&P 500. You can even get growth and income funds, even though they're not as volatile, that outperform the S&P 500. Then there's the aggressive growth fund. This is the wild brother. Okay? It's the crazy one. And so you might guess it's going to be also called a small cap funds. These are the small companies, the startups. A lot of tech companies would fall into there. Very crazy. All the fun, weird stuff is in there. And that means some of it fails and goes to zero. And so it's a crazier mix. It's going to be much more volatile than the stock market is. So it's going to go up faster than the market goes up, but it's going to go down faster than the market goes down. Small cap, aggressive growth stock mutual funds. Also known in there as, let's see, small cap, aggressive growth. Oh, emerging market, you would call it that too as well. International funds means that the stocks in it are overseas companies. They're not American companies. It has a kissing cousin called a global fund. If you think of a globe, what is it? It's everything. So that would have international and U.S. companies in a global fund, and it would be a cousin to an international. By the way, American companies generally outperform other international companies by and large as a group, and so your international fund will be your worst performing of the four over the last several decades. And a global fund will outperform an international fund because you put some spice in there, you put some American companies in there usually. And so they're a little bit better. But at least you got some stuff overseas. You're not 100% betting on the American economy. Not that I'm anti-American. I am not. This is not a patriotic thing. This is a diversification thing. And so, you want to have some BMW and some Mercedes in there. You want to have some LG and some other stuff. Even though some of those things are made stateside, those are foreign companies. And so you look for, companies that are overseas based, could be a French company, could be whatever, that are in an international fund. And then you spread your investing across those four types. And so, very simple here. Very simple. The thing is, do it. That's the thing. Everybody talks and talks and talks and talks and talks about investing. The problem is nobody does it. The people we talk to on the Millionaire Theme Hour that are millionaires, you know how they got to be millionaires? They did it. And they never, when I ask them how they became millionaires, they never say, oh man, I hit the home run. I got this mutual fund, had low fees. They never say that because it never happens. Oh, Dave, I hit the home run. I got this mutual fund that went straight up and I made all my money in one good buy. My golfing buddy gave me a stock tip. I don't meet millionaires that did that. I hear stories about it, but a golfing buddy with a stock tip is like a golfing buddy with a fishing story. The one that got away. I mean, it's just everybody's got an opinion and it's all a bunch of crap. And so you just have to really stop and go, slow and steady, actually investing is the way. It's the way. It's the only way to go. It's the only way to go. So, growth and income, growth, aggressive growth, international. Don't chase the returns. Do not invest money in things you do not understand. People get ripped off when they invest money in things that someone told them is good and they trusted the person instead of knowing what the flip they were doing. All these athletes you read about? The NFL stars, and they lost $10 million, or they made $100 million and it's all gone. And you know how they lose their money? Because they give it to someone else to handle and they don't even look at it. And then they're shocked to find out that person was a crook. That's how you lose your money. It's your money. Just like it's your kids, which means you have to make it behave. Just like you have to make your kids behave. You have to do that. If you want good kids, that's how it's going to happen. If you want money, that's how it's going to happen. You have to understand it. Now, you don't have to have a master's degree in finance. This stuff is not rocket science. It is really not that difficult. And you really, really seriously have to do this, and you have to understand what the money is going into. Do not put money in it. That's why when you're buying insurance, when you're getting a mortgage, when you are doing your investing in mutual funds, that's why when you do all of that you have to understand what you're doing. And the only way you're going to do that is when you're picking someone to help you in one of those areas. You're doing your estate plan if it's complicated. You're doing your taxes if they're complicated, that kind of thing. You need someone sitting on the other side of the table that is not a salesperson, but that is, they may be selling, they may make a commission, but they have the heart of a teacher, not the heart of a salesperson. And so they're selling not by twisting your arm or getting you to buy something that you don't understand. Instead, they sell by getting you to understand what you're doing, and then you choose to do it. I'm an easy sale once I understand something. But until I understand it, I'm not putting a dime in it. I'm not going forward with this. It's that simple. So don't put money in things you don't understand. Always use an investment professional that has the heart of a teacher. Don't be afraid to pay some commissions. You don't want to overpay, but that's not the end of the world. The big deal here is pick out some mutual funds, get your investing going, and do it every month. If you need some help, check our SmartVestor Pros. Click SmartVestor at DaveRamsey.com, and you can find a list of the people we endorse in your area. They don't work for me, but I endorse them, and they have the heart of a teacher, and they'll help you. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button to get the latest content and check out these other great clips from the show.
Casey is with us in Amarillo, Texas to start this hour. Hi, Casey. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hey, Dave and George, how are you?
Better than we deserve, brother. What's up?
Well, I'm a little embarrassed because this is really going to showcase my ignorance of the subject, but I've got a few questions about the national debt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard, but we are in debt a little bit.
I heard the rumor.
Yep. So I've got 3 questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is, who do we owe this $33 trillion to?
Mm-hmm.
The second one is, why as a country did we borrow it in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is it even possible or logical for our federal government to pay off this debt and operate debt-free?
Those are great questions. Well, who we owe the money to, or whoever bought the Treasury bills, are called T-bills. And the Treasury of the United States issues a bond. And if you buy that bond, then that means that if I buy a, $100,000 Treasury bond, that means the United States of America owes me $100,000 if I bought that bond. And it pays me a certain interest rate. Now, I know they're never going to pay the bond, or if they do, they're going to pay it by issuing another one.
Yeah.
Okay? Which is, if it actually ever does come due, that's how they do it. They'll issue another set to cover the ones that are coming due. But I also know that I can sell that bond at any moment because the credit rating of the United States of America is still strong. Okay? So that's how they finance it. And the danger is when foreign countries or foreign entities of any kind, wealthy corporations in foreign countries buy up a bunch of that. That means the United States is in debt, say, to China, as an example. Deeply in debt to China. It's a little dangerous politically. But it's not like they can call the debt, or it's not like they can repo Kentucky. So it's okay. So, but in that sense, it's not dangerous, but it's just kind of creepy. You know what I'm saying? So your second question was, your third question was, can we ever pay it off? Your second question was what? Why did we go in debt?
Yeah.
Well, we went in debt because like regular human beings, they spent more than they made. When the revenue coming in from taxes and other things won't cover the expenses of highways and military and $45,000 toilet seats and $1 billion to this country and $8 billion to that country in supplies, which we do pretty regularly. We give billions and billions and billions away overseas. When we don't have the income in a year, the amount that we're short revenue is not enough revenue to cover the outgo, the budget. The difference is called the deficit. And the amount that we borrow has gone up every year because we keep spending, not just spending more than we make, but every year spending more than we make. We raise the amount that we're going into debt. So when they say they cut the deficit, all that means is they didn't go over budget quite as much. That's all it means. So it's kind of an oxymoron on words. And then the last question is, can we get rid of it? Mathematically, we could. I don't think we have the political willpower to do it. Because as soon as you tell your Uncle Henry, who gets a subsidy because he runs a dairy farm from the U.S. government, that he's not going to get that subsidy anymore because we're cutting our expenses, then he's not going to vote for that congressman. And that congressman is going to get replaced by a congressman who will spend money like he's a drunken congressman, right?
Yeah.
And so the people won't. They want to. They in theory, a lot of people say, "I'd like to balance the budget. I'd like to get the income to at least equal where we're not going further in debt." But to do that would require cutting a lot of things out. And the problem is we're so far in debt now that a big portion of the budget is just the interest on the old debt.
Right.
And you can't cut that. You got to pay that. So where are you going to cut? You're going to cut giving, money in the Middle East, money in the Ukraine, money to this country, money to that country. There's a lot of people talk about that. Are you going to cut the military? I mean, those people don't get paid anything anyway. And they put their lives on the line for us. I don't know how to do that. It just requires this tremendous, the amount of hate that it would generate because of the number of lives it would touch to cut everything necessary to cut to get it down to balance. I don't know if anybody's got the political capital to pull that off. Either side. I think it'd be the last time that party existed right now, because people have gotten used to being on the government dole one way or another. They're used to the local government in my county is waiting on $14 million right now to build a highway or to redo a road that runs up beside one of my houses. And they've been waiting 5 years on that $14 million from the federal government, and they won't build the road until the $14 million comes. Meanwhile, the road's a damn goat track. It's awful. And so they're waiting on $14 million from the government instead of the local county handling their own business. Wow. And it's that way everywhere.
It's that times 1,000.
Waiting to do the bridge repairs until we get the government money, waiting to do this until you get the government. And so everybody's on the dadgum take. And nobody wants to say no, and saying no is the only way you balance a budget. When you do it at home, Casey, when I do it at home, the way I live on less than I make is I look at the kids and I say no. I look at my wife and we look at our budget and we go, we can't go on vacation. We're broke people. We got to not be broke people before we can go on vacation. We can't afford that car. Those bass are going to get away because I'm not going to have a bass boat with a motor that big because I can't afford to pay for it. This is what normal people do. We say no. But the federal government has absolutely no ability to say no because everybody wants them to say yes.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. It's not a math problem. You could actually cut taxes and revenues go up. Art Laffer proved that under Reagan. It's a statistical fact. It's not a political theory. So it actually worked.
Did you see Warren Buffett's method to solve this?
Yeah,
and it's a great quote.
Absolutely, yeah.
I said I could end the deficit in 5 minutes. You just pass a law that says anytime there's a deficit of more than 3% of GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election. There you go. You lose your job unless you fix this.
Yeah.
There's one way to do it.
Because you redefined what winning looks like. What does winning look like as a congressman now? Giving everybody free money. And if you made it the only way you can stay is if you balance the budget. That's a new way of saying what winning looks like.
Hanging out with lobbyists
They
all
would
day.
learn the ancient word, no. No. You press your tongue towards the roof of your mouth. You release and let air go by. No. Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life. Natasha is in Atlanta. Hi, Natasha. How are you?
Hi, good and you guys.
Better than we deserve. What's up in your world?
Well, my world has been upside down for the last 7 years. Me and my husband hasn't been very good managing money. I believe we both make good money. My husband works in the film industry, and we ended up moving to Atlanta, so he had a stable job here and income. And I am a teacher, so we make around $80,000, and sometimes it could be all the way to $100 yearly. But it has been a roller coaster for us to be on the same page. And finally, we found your program, and we're trying to make the right choices. This next 2 months, we're going to be like -0. We're just going to pay all our, regular utilities, and our payments are pretty high. So we're trying to figure it out right now if we have to get rid of one of our cars, even though our cars don't pay as much. We have one car is $560 a month, the other is $400 a month, monthly. But we just don't know where to start right now. I'm gonna do like a garage sale to make the $1,000 to start for our savings. We have 0 savings. We're just a mess, and we need to know how can we start something.
Are you guys doing a budget?
Well, that's the first thing we started. But right now the budget is ideally, but we have so much things that are like overdue payments that, we're not going to even have enough money for the budget. We're going to have to catch up the next 2 months,
Well-
just doing payments and just doing payments.
Well, I think that you're a little bit confused about how the budget is working. So what you're going to do, so what do you bring home every month, around $4,000?
I bring 2,800, and my husband brings 6,000.
Oh, 6,000. Oh, okay, great. So you're going to plug that into your budget. How do you do your budget now? Is it a spreadsheet? What are you using to create your budget every month?
I just have it's not really a spreadsheet. It's just, a chart that I created. And we have $8,000 for $100 as income.
Okay.
8,400. And our out goal is 8,180.
Okay, well, let's start with what your outgo actually is. So you're going to start with the 8,400 and you're just going to go down the line and you're going to spend all of that money. So you're going to start with your expenses and go through making sure that you're making minimum payments on everything, not just your, the expenses that you do every month, like groceries and things like that, but also your debt. And just to keep everything current. I know that you said that you're behind on some stuff, but start out by making minimum payments. And once you've done that, I think you're going to find that there are things that you're spending money on that you don't actually need to spend money on because you guys have a great income.
What kind of debt do you have on?
Well, we have the 2 car loans.
Okay,
and
car number 1 that you owe $400 a month on. What's the balance on it?
Okay, that is 25.
Okay.
I mean, 21.
The one that's 160. What's the balance on it?
No, it's 400 and 560. So the 560 is 25,000, and the 400 is 12,000.
Okay, all right. And what are your other debts?
The student loans.
How much?
Is around $20,000.
Okay. What else?
We also have medical bills, and they are already affected our credit scores. And
how much?
I don't know the number for that. I think it's roughly around $15,000.
And you're paying monthly on these?
We're not.
Okay, so you're not paying anything on it.
behind.
You're not paying anything on that at all. Okay. What else?
Well, that's it. Like, I don't
What's
even
your house
know
payment?
where we paid. We don't own. We rent.
What's your rent?
$2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What are you behind on?
Right now, we own 3 months of the car, and we also laid 1 month on rent.
Okay. So what that tells me is that you all are out of control on your spending because you have enough to pay these bills. I don't even know where you're getting to 8,400. I can't get there. You're not paying anything on these medical. You got 2,000 plus you got food, lights, and water, and then you got 1,060 you got 960 in credit card debt or in car payments. Student loans on hold with Biden.
Yeah.
You're not paying anything on it.
You're not working a budget. I think you're just guessing at the numbers every month. And if you're not on a budget, you guys are spending like crazy, and then you're not prioritizing the things that you actually need to spend on.
You or him?
This is what has it happening. Like, I try for us to stick on a budget.
Who's the spender, you or him?
I think both. I think we're both very bad spending. And
why does it say on my screen you're considering a divorce?
Yeah.
Why does it say on my screen you're considering a divorce? You haven't brought that up in our conversation.
I did. Sometimes the only escape that I feel I have from the situation is, only
well, that would be if
my
it's
own
his fault.
responsibility.
But you didn't just now say it was his fault. You said it was both your fault.
But it's hard for both of us to be on the same page. It's just hard.
Why?
Like, for now, I explained him that we need to close our personal accounts, and one of the things that you guys recommend is for both to have one account together. And he's like, okay, we can open one account, but we will still keep separate accounts at the same time. I feel he doesn't trust.
Separate accounts aren't your problem. Your problem is you spend like you're in Congress. Somewhere between the two of you.
I'm sorry, what did you say last?
I said you spend out of control. No number of accounts will stop that. having a singular account's not going to fix that. Getting rid of him's not going to fix it if you're the problem. So what we've got to do is you guys are going to have to lay out a game plan that the two of you agree to, and you guys are getting ready to head into bankruptcy because you're going to get evicted and repoed. You're not but one car payment away from getting into repo land, and you're about half a mortgage or half a rent payment from being evicted if you're my tenant, because I don't fool around with people not paying their rent. So you guys got to get this stuff together. We didn't have time to do a full counseling session for money on the air. Let me help you guys if you're out there facing that, because I feel like we didn't address the key issue that would be a great learning for everyone else. If you are behind on your payments, behind on your bills, how do you do a budget? Okay. Well, the first thing you do is you have to force rank prioritize. You have to prioritize your dollars. And that means we're going to take care of what we used to learn, and they no longer teach it in the 8th grade, called civics, the difference in necessities and luxuries. 98% of what everybody spends money on in America is a freaking luxury. So let me help you with what an actual necessity is. Food. There's one. No, eating out is not a necessity. Some of you people, all you know how to make is reservations, and you got to work on that, okay? So food at home, cheap, that you bought at the grocery store with a coupon. Food is a necessity. Utilities, lights and water, so you have heat and cool. Utilities is number 2.
Cable is not a utility.
Cable is not a utility. Thank you. Hulu is not on your list. Oh, Netflix is not a necessity, Tiger King. Let me help you, okay?
I just had to put that out there.
Just helping you with your little increase there to $12.95. Okay. I've got it all, but I'm not broke, okay? So I got Hulu and Netflix. So I'll just give them a little ad there, but they're not a necessity. You can live without them. Promise you. Now, once you've gotten food and utilities, we're bellies full and we're warm. Number 3 is shelter. So you take care of your place to live so you're not homeless. You pay your rent. Now, almost everyone can scratch around and make enough money to buy their food, keep their electricity current if they're first, second, and third, and keep your rent paid.
Right.
The only way you get behind on rent, which our last caller was, is if you are completely discombobulated, screwed up, and you're spending crazy money on something else.
You'd have to be.
It's the only way. Because otherwise you go, okay, I'm going to go out to eat, but I'm going to get evicted. That's called insanity. I mean, stupid, right?
Yeah.
We're going on this trip, but we're going to get evicted. Well, that's, I mean, what are your parents' cousins? Really? I mean, seriously, no one does that, but people do it all the time. Because when we get all stressed out, we don't force rank priorities. And if you'll just get real calm, cool, and collected and go, we're going to eat before we do anything. Not eat out. We're going to pay the utilities, not cable, before we do anything. We're going to pay rent. And when you do those 3 things, you got a lot of money, most of you, left over after those 3 things. Then the next one's transportation.
Yeah. Now this is the one that gets people, Dave.
Yeah, well, they had $960 in car payments.
They did.
So we're going to fix their transportation problem because we're going to sell that crap.
Tomorrow.
Okay? If you can't pay the car payment, hello, there's a signal here. Yeah. God is saying, sell the car. It wasn't even Dave. God said it. And you know how I know he said that? The blessings of the Lord have no sorrow added to them.
That's right.
He said that in the Psalms. And if you have sorrow added to something, it's not from God. And this lady has sorrow. They're about to have their cars repoed.
And she's thinking about divorce.
And she's thinking about divorce because they're going to pay their car payments. So these cars need to go. In the meantime, you actually have $8,000 a month coming in. How? Almost $9,000 a month coming in. How do you not pay $1,000 worth of car and $2,000 worth of rent? That's only $3,000. $5,000 left over after that. How are you behind on those? Because you didn't have them prioritized. That's what it tells me.
Right.
Okay? After 30 years of doing this, I have great insight.
These are things that you need to build into your daily way of life. Your budget is something that is not something that you make once a year and you come back to it when things are bad. You do your budget every single month before the month begins. You create that plan. You spend every dollar on paper or digital paper every month before it begins. So you have a plan so you can see what are the areas that need attention. Maybe you do need to get your income up. That's not really the case in her situation.
Wouldn't hurt, though.
They've got a spending problem.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll start to see that as you put your budget together.
But let's just pretend for a second, okay? She said she's 2 car payments behind.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so what's it take to get current and pay this month? $2,000.
She could do that this month.
And what's it take if she's 1 month behind on rent?
Yeah.
What's it take to get current on that?
Another $2,000.
Yeah.
It's $4,000.
Yeah. So you could be 100% current on the things that matter in 1 month.
That's right. And her
But
student
now you're
loan
not
is
going to do
not
anything
even due.
else. You're not going to do anything else. Something else might get behind.
Well,
And if something
yeah.
like if you got MasterCard laying there, they can jump in the creek. We don't get evicted, and we don't pay MasterCard if we got to choose.
when you like the taste of steak at a restaurant more than you like the feeling of paying your bills on time, you got a problem.
Hello.
You would rather wine and dine yourself. You would rather go on trips that you can't afford than just have the peace of paying your bills on time and sleeping at night.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If you're behind like that, you said early in the conversation, you're doing the budget wrong. What you need to do is you need to spend this month's $8,600 on this month's problems. And until you clear food, utilities, housing, and transportation and get them all current, you don't spend anything else on anything. I don't care if somebody doesn't like it. Oh, and you need to stop your stupid 401k withholding. You're over here making investments while you're paying $1,000 in car payments. Okay? So this is what's going on in that house.
Yeah.
I'm not fussing at her. I'm just saying mathematically, this is so easy for some of you to turn around. Within 1 month or 2 months, you could be 100% current and on the things that matter.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You emotionally, Dr. John Deloney could do a whole clinic on this. You're emotionally completely shut down in crisis mode, trauma mode.
Yeah.
Your brain, your critical thinking skills shut down when you are in threat of being hungry, homeless, and have your lights cut off and your car's repoed. These are the necessities of life.
Yeah.
To have, food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and utilities. Clothing, we don't need to worry about. You know you got clothing, okay? Shut up. There's 73 pairs of shoes in there. Shut up. You don't need clothing. Good Lord, the money we've got enough clothing last, okay?
Yeah.
So, if you're trying to make a fashion statement, you're getting evicted, you got other issues, right?
Well, you got to grow up, Dave. And I can
can
say that because I've been there. I've had to look in the mirror and go, Jade, you're acting like a child. You're buying clothes, you're going out to eat, and you cannot pay your bills. You've got to change. You've got to do what you're doing differently. Doing things the same way and expecting the same result, that's insanity.
So...
And I was an insane child.
Take care of the four walls first. That's not insanity. It's the opposite. Food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and utilities. Get current on them before you worry about anything else. Everyone else can jump in the creek until that's done.
Yep.
Hey guys, I'm your host, Rachel Cruz, and welcome to the last episode in this series, Dave Ramsey's Greatest Hits, where we're looking back at the best moments from the last 10 years of The Ramsey Show on video. And for this final episode, we're highlighting Dave's top teaching moments. And I'm talking about everything from paying off debt to building a home to buying a car, all the classics. I promise you're going to get some wisdom you didn't even know you needed right now. So check it out.
This is the show where we talk about money in a way everyone can understand it and in a way that applies to everyone. The danger of these simple concepts is those of you that view yourself as intellectuals, those of you that view yourself as sophisticated, sometimes you look at something that's simple and you don't understand how profound it is. Like the borrower is slave to the lender.
Oh, but I use credit cards to get my miles.
You actually think you're going to take on a multi-billion-dollar company who studies your behavior more than you study your behavior and come out on the right end of this stick. That doesn't make you sophisticated. That makes you blatantly stupid. Think about it.
Did you know the credit card is the most aggressively marketed product in the history of humankind? Nothing has been sold to anyone in any culture in any kind of a volume close to the credit card. No product line or service has had anywhere near as much money spent on marketing and sophistication to sell it to you. Hundreds of millions of dollars a year is spent to sell you this product. And then you're so stupid that you think you're going to get away with using it for free. If you do, it's going to be a short-term thing. Or if you think you do, you left out some of the variables. Example. When you spend using cash, it activates the pain centers of your brain. You have an ouchie moment when you hand over Uncle Benjamin Franklin. Dad, gum, I just bought dinner. When you lay Uncle Benjamin Franklin in that black plastic tray known as his coffin, because he's going away and he's not coming back, you put him inside that little Visa or American Express fold-over vinyl thing that the server brings you, and you lay Uncle Benjamin Franklin in there, you have a moment with Uncle Ben. It's Uncle Ben, I'll never see you again. You know this is happening. When you pay with plastic and I interview you, 24 hours later, you don't know what the total was on the bill. You can't tell me what you spent. You don't know what you spent at the gas pump because you stuck a card in it, you pumped the gas, and you walked away. You can't tell me what your gas bill was. In the days that we used to walk into the market and lay money down on the counter, and then they would give you change because you didn't round it off when you were putting your gas in, we knew exactly what we spent on gas in those days. Today, you don't even know what your gas is. You don't know. I use a debit card. I can't tell you what mine was. Can I tell you what it cost to fill up my truck the other day? I don't know. I didn't notice. Just stuck the card in, put the gas in, drove away. I'm just like you. Cash activates the pain centers of the brain. There's 2 or 3 things that activate memory. Memory is activated primarily by pain, fear, heavy emotion of some kind. Positive, pleasurable emotion will activate memory. That's why you smell something and you remember a girl you dated in high school. Smell activates that memory. That's what happens. And so that's the process. So here's the thing. If you can't remember it, it means the pain centers of your brain were not activated. And when we do surveys with what you spent on that meal, as you walk out of the door of the restaurant, you can't tell me what the total was. Oh, it was around $25, around $52. I don't know, 56, 54. I don't know. I don't even remember. I think I left the tip. I left a big tip because I've been drinking. You know, now you really can't remember anything, right? So this is how people handle their money. And yet you tell me you're going to beat the credit card company. You spend 12 to 18% more on average when you use plastic than when you use cash. That's what all the studies show us because you don't feel the pain. And the world's worst place is the grocery store. They are the best marketers on the planet. The best merchandisers on the planet is the grocery store. Man, they know how to put the food at the right place. The old-fashioned example, the easiest example, is the bread and the milk's at the back, right? Because everybody that walks in a grocery store is buying bread or milk, and they have to go through the full length of the store and have every opportunity to impulse on some kind of jar of peanut butter and jelly mixed together, pre-mixed for you. I don't know what you're impulsing on, but there's something getting your attention. It must be those new peach Cheerios I heard about today. And guess what? All the stuff is at the eye level that gets your attention, and they pay for the shelf position as you walk to the back to get your bread and milk, and you can't walk out without spending money. It's the aisles are designed for you to buy stuff. And when you use plastic at the grocery store, you have no idea what your grocery bill is. And you spend more. You spend more on clothing. Oh, yeah, throw in that accessory. Oh, yeah. You'll pick up other people's tab at the restaurant. I'll buy your dinner tonight. Not think anything about it. Just drop $50. Never think a thing about it. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be generous. I'm not saying you shouldn't accessorize. And I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy some purchases at the grocery store. I'm just saying you ought to do it on purpose. And if you think that credit card use, even if you're paying it off every month, costs you $0, then you are a very naive individual that has been influenced by an industry that has spent more to influence you than any other industry in the history of the world. That should give you pause. That should give you pause. If anybody else was selling you that hard on anything, your shields would go up. But for some reason, when it's credit cards, we're like,
Oh, no, Dave, I have this figured out. I'm 26 and I've got this figured out. I'm 26 years old. I make $42,000 a year, but I'm going to beat up on old Discover card. They don't know anything. I've got them beat. I'm getting those Discover points. Not costing me a thing. You know how stupid that makes you sound when you say stuff like that? I'm making all my money on my airline miles. You know, I've met with thousands of millionaires. I've never met a millionaire who said, Dave, you know, I made all my money on my airline miles. Dave, my breakthrough was my Discover points. I'll pay mine off every month, Dave. I'm beating up on the credit card company. I'm getting the use of their money, wink, wink. Millionaires just don't say stuff like that. Now, some of them use a credit card. They do pay it off every month. But I got to tell you, their lifestyles are so conservative. Beside, you know, when I set them up next to you, middle-class people who are spending everything you make and trying to convince me that I'm a troglodyte because I don't use credit cards. Well, I'm not broke anymore. This is a multimillionaire troglodyte you're listening to. Why? Because I started understanding that behavior affects your ability to build wealth more than all your little math tricks you think you see all the variables on. The borrower is slave to the lender. It doesn't say accept airline miles. The borrower is slave to the lender. It doesn't say accept Discover points. The borrower is slave to the lender. It doesn't say accept I got 0% interest on my new car, which lost $7,000 when I drove it off the lot, so it's not really 0%, is it? How stupid are we? I mean, you're gonna hand me a nickel in front of me while you're picking a $100 bill out of my back pocket and call me smart. Think, people. Think. So, as you know, most of you that listen regularly, we've been on the air now for a little over 25 years. Even before I was on the air, I was teaching people about money. When I first started this stuff, I'm a math nerd. I've got a degree in finance. I had all the letters and licenses after my name and all the different things. And, you know, I was real concerned about the math. Really concerned about the math. And I would sit down with people and show them how to get out of debt. And they would go home and promptly not do it. It was really frustrating. I started figuring out that hope has more to do with you winning with money than math does. Because hope gives you, well, it's fuel on the fire. It gives you a reason to make changes, a reason to do something you've never done before. And really what we're saying here is that personal finance is about 80% behavior. It's only about 20% head knowledge and math. The problem with your money is not your math. The problem with your money is the person in your mirror. They're screwing up everything. If I can get the guy in my mirror to behave, he'd be skinny and rich, right? That's what I figured out. So I quit telling people to get out of debt, paying off the highest interest rate first. I started teaching people what we started calling the debt snowball. And it's a real tough metaphor to grasp. You list your debts smallest to largest. You pay minimum payments on everything but the little one. You attack the little one with a vengeance. Scorched earth lifestyle. Sell so much stuff the kids think they're next. Take 16 extra jobs. Name the dog eBay and put him there. Put the cat on Craigslist. We're getting out of debt. We're getting out of debt. And you pay everything. You stop all investing temporarily and completely focus
All your emotional, spiritual, financial, relational energy on that smallest debt. Everything goes on that. When that one's gone, you take the payment that used to be there and any other money we can squeeze out of our budget and we throw it at number 2. And when that one's gone, then we take the payments from 1 and 2. The snowball rolls over again. It picks up more snow and you attack number 3. The average person for the past 25 years that has done that with great focused intensity, intentionality, gone crazy to the point their broke friends and relatives thought they needed counseling. They shaved their head, they drank the Kool-Aid, they get out of debt in about 18 to 24 months, everything but their house. That's the average. Now, some of you got a lot of debt. It takes you 5 years. Some of you get out of debt in 4 months, but the average is between 18 and 24 months. It works. Millions, tens of millions of people have gotten out of debt. Debt-free screams alone on the air here last year were $49.8 million. That's kind of like $50 million. And that was just the ones that screamed on the air. Other people just stood in their backyard and screamed, and that worked too, you know. You don't have to come on the air for it to count. You're out of debt. Shut up. Well, Dave, you ought to. Dave Ramsey, I saw a guy on Twitter. Dave Ramsey doesn't teach the most optimum way to get out of debt. The most optimum way to get out of debt is to pay it off highest interest rate first, says the moron on Twitter. I used to be that moron. I tried that. The problem is it doesn't work. So let me explain to you what optimum means. Optimum is the one that works, not the one that's mathematically correct. Honey, if we were doing math, we wouldn't have credit card debt to start with. This is not a math problem. This is a you problem. It's personal finance. It's more behavior. Your success with your finance has more to do with you getting along with your spouse and being on the same page than it does mathematics. You can be a freaking math genius and you and your spouse aren't on the same page, and all of our data tells us you will not win with money. You will not build wealth. You cannot build wealth in spite of a princess or in spite of a prince who spends money like they're in Congress. You can't do it. You can't make enough money to outspend stupidity or out-earn stupidity. I tried it. Not my wife. I was the stupid one. I always thought if I just made a little more, it'd be okay. No, I had to learn to control what I had. So we started teaching people a class called Financial Peace University. The class is about 25 years old. Started teaching it with an overhead projector and a bad suit. It was $569 to go through the class. 4 people came the first night. 3 of them bought. $569. The class was 26 weeks long. 13 lessons come every other week for 6 freaking months. Guy stopped by here the other day that was in that very first class. Good to see him. I hadn't seen him in a long time. We got to be friends, he, his wife, and he and I. And he's a multimillionaire now, by the way. Why? Because I gave him money? I didn't give him any money. I just showed him how to do it, and he did it. He followed the steps that we teach in Financial Peace University, not only the baby steps, not only the debt snowball, but also start investing in good mutual funds over a long period of time. That's 25 years. He should be a multimillionaire. You do this stuff, it works. That's what optimum is, morons. You people that are calling me out, and it's not optimum. Let me just tell you, optimum is what works. That's what's optimum, not what's mathematically correct. I understand the debt snowball's not mathematically correct, and I don't really care. My math nerd down inside of me cringes, but I don't really care. What matters is what works, how it allows you to change your life. Dave, I'm thinking about building a house. Any suggestions? Absolutely. Definitely got suggestions when you're thinking about building a house. There's 3 and maybe 4 things you must do if you're going to build a house. Maybe 5, but I'll walk you through. Here's what we do, okay? There's some sub-pieces. So 3, maybe 4. The maybe 4 is if you've already picked out the property and bought it, and you've already got your builder, and you're doing kind of an independent, standalone type of a deal, then we will pass on number one. But number one is, if you haven't, then I would get a good buyer's agent realtor at daveramsey.com. Click on ELP for real estate ELP and get them to represent you through the whole transaction with the builder, help you navigate with the builder if you haven't already selected it. So if you're going in where somebody's building houses, or a builder's got a subdivision going, and they're doing a whole bunch of deals, and they got houses popping up everywhere, and you're going to run down there and go, I want that one on that lot, and you haven't done that yet, and yeah, I'd get a realtor in your corner, a buyer's agent in your corner, because they'll work as your liaison during the construction process, and they're going to work their butts off for their commission, I promise you. Now, the other three are with everybody. Okay, there are three things that run a building job. A building job is simply a project. It's project management, that's all it is. If we're doing a project here, developing a product, how do you do that? Well, projects all need basically three things. You need a blueprint, which is how the project is going to be built. What's the house going to be? You need a detailed blueprint that you and the builder are in agreement on. If you don't already have that, while you're drawing it, involve your builder with the architect. So the two of them are working together to develop the plan. So the architect's not drawing something stupid that's ridiculous to be built or super expensive because they went to art class and don't know anything about building, okay? So you got to have the balance in there. But if you've already got your blueprint, you got your blueprint. That's thing one. This is one of the three pieces of paper that manages a building job. The second piece of paper is, do not engage in a building project without a detailed schedule. A schedule. When we built the homes that we built, we had a spreadsheet, and before we broke ground, we knew the week the trim carpenter was going to show up. We knew the week the painter was going to show up. We knew the week the roofer was going to show up. We knew the week the grading was going to be done on this or that. All, with bushes are going in on this date. We're going to get the CO, the certificate of occupancy on this date. And so you begin with the end in mind on the schedule. You got your blueprint, you got the schedule that we're going to build it. Then you could tell if the builder's off track because he's building something that's not on the blueprint, or he's off schedule because weather's been bad, or he hadn't done a good job of keeping the subs scheduled in. But if you start a house in October and you know March the 4th, the trim carpenter is supposed to be there, you can already schedule the trim carpenter. And so you don't end up without a dadgum trim carpenter when you're supposed to. And right now there's a shortage of labor in the building business. And if you don't have your subs lined up all the way out, you're going to get messed over on your schedule. So a schedule and a blueprint. The third piece of paper is a budget. You know, budget which we're building to. And when they come in and go, well, we can't do this on budget. What do you mean you can't do it on budget? This is the budget. This is what we said. And it keeps you from doing stupid stuff. We're building a house, and the decorator came in and picked out expensive carpet for the downstairs. Nobody goes downstairs much. And she's blowing our whole carpet budget, our flooring budget, on this stupid downstairs carpet. Because decorator's being a decorator, right? I'm like, no, this is Dave Ramsey building this house, kiddo. So put the cheaper carpet downstairs, nobody goes down there anyway, and get your dadgum flooring budget back into, because we're not going a bazillion dollars over our flooring budget. And so you can build a house on budget, on schedule, and then every Friday we met with the builder and we looked at the blueprint, the schedule, and the budget and made sure everything that was done that week was lining up with all of that. The blueprint, the schedule, and the budget. The blueprint, the schedule, and the budget every Friday morning. And, of course, we had the money lined up, so we paid them every Friday morning. And they were able to pay their subs. Everybody's happy. Everything stays on track. We finished the houses early and under budget, the last two houses we built. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine building a house for me? How big a pain in the butt that is. But you know what? We didn't change 63 things during the way. The more change orders you do, the more you're going to lose your butt. It's hard on the builder. It's hard on the subs. It's hard on the schedule. It's hard on the budget. So make your mind up and stick with it. We did 2-3 change orders on both houses. I mean, almost no change orders. We had some big stuff we got in there. We went, no, this isn't right. We got to change this. And we spent, and it was on us. And then it's on me. And then mixed in this is you as the person building the stinking house have to do your job, and that is stay ahead of them on the selections. When you don't go pick out the carpet, you don't go pick out the light fixtures, you don't go pick out the faucets, you don't go pick out the plumbing fixtures, months and months and months ahead of when you need to, then you're slowing the whole thing down. And then you go, I had a bad experience building because you were so freaking indecisive, you were impossible to work with. Every time I give this talk, builders all go, God, I wish I could get all my people to do this. I'm like, you need to demand it because you stay mad at your builder and it's your fault. Now, sometimes builders are doofuses too, like any other business. But if you've got a quality realtor helping you lead your way through this, and you'll do the budget, the blueprint, and the schedule. The budget, the blueprint, and the schedule. Manage to that, and you stay ahead of them. Don't you be the problem. You make your decisions. And a friend of mine took him an extra year to build his house because he couldn't get his wife to go pick out the crap. I mean, I'm having a fit. And she couldn't make up her mind. I'm going to kill her. What are you talking about? She can't make up her mind. A year? Well, we enjoy the process. I don't enjoy process. I want to get it done. I'm like, why am I building the house? Because it's a game? No, I'm building it to move into it. So you stay ahead of them. You don't stop them from anything. You don't get in the way. You don't be a problem child. And don't you go over on the site and start telling subs stuff's wrong. You're not running the job. The general contractors run the job. If you're going to go around the site, the only thing you do is take food, smile, and tell everybody how wonderful they are. And if you got a problem, you call your builder, you call your general contractor. Don't you go telling the electrician the plug's in the wrong place. They get confused who the boss is then. Stay in the chain of command. Keep stuff picked out. Be a pleasant experience, and you will have a pleasant experience. But manage it like it's a project. I mean, people wander around the barn building these houses, and it takes you forever to get them done. I've got some friends that build houses here in the area, and they refuse to build houses for people. They build them as specs, and when they're done, you can move in them. You can buy them, but they won't let you be involved because people drive the builder crazy by being indecisive and changing stuff halfway through. And a country music girl in our area was building a house, and she and her decorator changed everything. It took them an extra year, and they spent an extra $4 million on an $8 million. I mean, it's supposed to be a $4 million house. It ended up being $8 million, and it took them an extra year to build it. All because she changed everything. She built a stupid house twice as she was going up. Just change. The whole house was change orders. I mean, it's ridiculous. No, that's a dumb way to build a house. It drives everybody crazy and makes the decorator money, makes the builder money, makes the builder crazy, and makes you, the customer, crazy and broke. Figure out what you're going to do and do it. Have a clear path to building a house. And you'll have a great experience if you do that. I have had great experiences. Now, no project of that size happens without glitches and without you having to have some discussions from time to time, like get your butt in gear kind of discussion. But that's true of managing any project. You got to line the labor sources up and get things moving. Like, dude, you guys are 2 weeks behind. How you going to make it up? I don't know. It's been raining. Well, make it up. I mean, I come over here, you ain't working. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Where the flip are you? Folks, if you listen to this long enough, you hear the show long enough, and you listen to the debt-free screams long enough, you find there's two types of people with money. Well, there's a lot of types of people, but people fall largely into two buckets. There's the bucket of people who are doing their debt-free scream, or someone like the young lady we interviewed in our lobby just a few minutes ago. They are happening to their money. The other bucket of people is the money happens to them. Dr. Stephen Covey used to say in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the number one habit of highly effective people is they are proactive. They happen to things. Everything doesn't happen to them. You make the assumption that we can't control all the external variables in our life, but we are largely in charge of our own destiny. Or we stand back and shake our head and wonder why everything bad happens to us. You either tell your money what to do, or you wonder where it went. Money flows from people who do not manage it to the people who do manage it. If you take someone who manages money well and as a result has become wealthy, and they lose everything, they will become wealthy again. Because the things that made them wealthy that did not leave when the money left. And when you take someone who does not manage money well and they're given a pile of money, have you ever noticed they end up with nothing? Because they don't happen to their money happens to them. Case in point, lotto winners. Someone wins the lottery, the bankruptcy rate is fourfold the national average. 4 times as likely to file bankruptcy if you win the lottery as not. Isn't that weird? The vast majority of lotto winners a decade later have nothing. Because the very thing that caused them to play the lotto in the first place gives you an indication that you're going to lose it. That's why some athletes, when they get money, end up with nothing. Because the only skill they've got is athletic skill. They had no character, no ability to manage the money, no ability to say no ability to have good relationships and boundaries. Those are the things that lead you to build wealth. And so wealth is an intentional act. Now, bad stuff can happen to people, and sometimes people are poor because people are oppressing them. I understand that. I'm not picking on the poor. That's not what I'm doing. But what I am saying is that sometimes you're where you are because of a series of decisions you've made. As a matter of fact, usually you're where you are. And you can make new decisions. You don't have to, well, my family, the way I grew up in my neighborhood, my people, those are how sentences start when people are going to explain why they're losing and it's not their fault. The little man can't get ahead. People like me, you don't understand about the isms that are out there. Yeah, I do. Isms are real. They're real. But I meet people every day who overcome their isms. Sexism, racism. People overcome their isms all the time. Hard work, hustle, smarts, looking forward, controlling the destiny. Can everybody do it? Apparently everybody can do it, but most people choose not to. They choose not to control the variables in their life. And so it comes down to something as simple in personal finance as doing a budget. When you do a budget, it is you exercising the fact that you believe you control your destiny. If you are a victim of destiny, why would you ever do a budget? If you're going to be controlled by an ism, if you're going to be controlled by the way you grew up, if you're going to be controlled by people in my family, people of my heritage, people of my ethnic background, people of, you fill in the blank, if you're going to be controlled by that, I grew up on the other side of the tracks, Dave. Most millionaires did, by the way. The vast majority of millionaires grew up on the other side of the tracks. The only difference in them and the next door neighbor that's still on the other side of the tracks is they decided they didn't want to live there. So they picked their butt up and they moved to the other side of the tracks. They lived like no one else so that later they could live and give like no one else. Consequently, we see things like the 5 million families that have been through Financial Peace University. You know what the number one data point between them being successful or the ones that are successful going through that, getting out of debt, and the ones that aren't? The number one data point is to do a budget. We can predict your success in Financial Peace University by the second class. It's 9 classes when you go through, 9 lessons. The second lesson, we can tell if you're going to be successful. Did you come in with your zero-based budget done in every dollar the way we teach you? No, I've got my own version of Dave Ramsey. I've got my own version of smart. I'm Ish. I'm Dave Ramsey Ish. I'm going to do Financial Peace University Ish. You're not going to make it. Our data, when 5 million people do something, you got good data, okay? We got good data. We know exactly who's going to make it and who's not. We can study your behavior and tell you, if you keep on this path, you are going to fail. And you've already started down the wrong path, so you got to turn around and go back and start again. The people that do their every dollar budget complete the class. They typically go to all 9 lessons. They stay in the membership for a year, continuing to watch online. They download the podcasts. They watch the debt-free screams on YouTube to stay inspired, to stay on their budget. How interesting. They were sick and tired of being sick and tired. They said, I'm not going to be those people anymore. I am going to control these variables. I'm going to control my destiny. Do sometimes their transmission go out? Does sometimes there a car wreck? Does sometimes somebody get cancer? Does sometimes somebody die? Yes. Sometimes tragedy happens. Yes. Sometimes they get laid off. Yes. But guess what? They get up and do it again. Sometimes they get knocked on their butt and they get back up and they do it again. And you get back up and you do it again when you have a plan and when you believe you're in control of your destiny. If you fall off your budget and you mess up, you get back up and you do it again. You don't take the Every Dollar app off your phone, which, by the way, it's fairly easy to put back on because it's free. And you sit down there and you do your budget. The correlating statistic between people that win at anything and people that lose are those that are intentional. People that win are intentional. You don't accidentally win the freaking Super Bowl. They never interview the guys at the end of the Super Bowl and go, how'd you do that? I don't know, man. I just got off the bus and I just won. I have no idea. No, it's an intentional act of a decade plus, 2 decades usually, of practice and skill development that brought them to that. 10,000 hours of practice brought them to that. You don't accidentally play a guitar like Brad Paisley. It's not an accident. It's an intentional act. Now, some of you got drunk and woke up married, but most people getting married is an intentional act. You date, you court, you're very focused, you do everything right, you smile at the right time, and you shave and take a bath. And it causes courting to work, and you get married. As we've been doing this millionaire research, one of the pieces of data that we've discovered is by studying 10,000 millionaires, that the average millionaire drives a 4-year-old car with 41,000 miles on it, and of course it's paid for, and they haven't had car payments in decades, which is how they became a millionaire, because the average car payment now is over $500, about $504 a month over 84 months. If you invest $504 from age 30 to age 70, you'll have somewhere around $5 million in your Roth IRA. I hope you like your car. Our advice, knowing that cars lose 60 to 70% of their value in the first 4 years, is to buy a quality used car unless you have a net worth in excess of $1 million. Then if you want to buy a new car, you can afford to take the loss on it. But the worst car accidents do happen on the showroom floor. Well, Dave, I'm always worried about buying a used car. Well, what are you driving? If you're driving a car that you bought 2 months ago, it's now a used car. If you're driving a car you bought 5 years ago, it's a used car. What are you driving? Listen, the vehicle quality is so high now that we get 200,000-300,000 miles out of a car. Most of these cars run and run and run and run and run if you have to take care of them. So, don't buy a new car unless you've got a net worth in excess of $1 million. Now, how do you negotiate the best deal on your car? Well, the same way you do a lot of things. There's a couple of keys to negotiating. One is he with the most knowledge wins. So study. Learn about that car. Go on Trader.com. Go on Kelley Blue Book and Edmunds.com and look up stuff about the car. Google the car. Read articles about the car. Look at different versions of the car, different packages that are on the car. The luxury package, the standard package, the 2-door, the 4-door, the different engines that are in that particular car. Learn all about a Honda Civic if you're going to buy a Honda Civic. Learn. People impulse a big purchase like a car. That makes you stupid. You don't impulse that. You study that. And then pay cash, of course. Now, most of the time, paying cash means that you are doing a bank transfer, but sometimes you can walk in with the cash and just lay it on the table. It's not that much money. I mean, $7,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever. It kind of blows a dealer's mind, but certainly if you're buying from an individual, when you put cash on the table, it says we have a deal. It doesn't say, oh, I need to check with my banker. You ever sold a car on Craigslist? I need to check with my banker, and then you never hear from them again. I'll take it, but my banker will do it, and never hear from them again. But when you lay cash on the table, there's no, I need to check with my banker in there. It's a done deal, baby. It's locked in, right? And listen, don't get married to one car. Be prepared to walk away. Listen, when you bought something emotionally, even the most inept seller recognizes the body language changes. I mean, you guys know when somebody's bought something, right? Even though they haven't done the deal. The negotiation's over once they know you're married. I'm married. I have to have this car. So just be quiet. Let them talk, the seller, that is. Tell them, you've looked this car up. You've studied a lot. This seems a little high. And then be quiet. Let them talk. You can negotiate online. There's a lot of ways you can do it. You can have the car inspected. And a good thing to do, too, is check with one of our endorsed local providers on the insurance side and find out what it costs to insure that car. You might be looking at one $7,000 car that's almost twice as much to insure as another $7,000 car.
All right, you guys, that's a wrap on this limited series, Dave Ramsey's Greatest Hits. I loved looking back at the last 10 years of The Ramsey Show on video, reliving some of the best moments, and honestly, seeing how consistent Dave has been over time. It really is a testament to the timeless money principles that we still teach on The Ramsey Show. And yes, some things have changed. The studio has gotten a makeover. Dave's fashion choices may or may not have gotten a makeover. And now we have a whole team of personalities instead of just Dave. But despite all these changes, the advice we teach has stayed the same. It still works. And if you follow our money principles, you will build wealth. Good news. You can keep up with our life-changing content every weekday on The Ramsey Show. Just make sure that you're subscribed to The Ramsey Show channel. And as always, thank you so much for joining me for Dave Ramsey's Greatest Hits.
All right, Jade, it's worth unpacking a little bit, this idea of dealing with collectors, okay? Number one, if you have the money laying around to pay a bill, you owe the bill legitimately, pretty simple. Pay the bill. Pay what you owe.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just carrying around a mental load for no reason.
Yeah.
Why?
And so I have a friend who's going through cancer treatments, and they've got $5,000 worth of bills laying there already, early in the process, and asked me, should I pay these bills? And I went, well, you've got like $500,000 in your investment account. Yes, you should pay the bill. Well, but what should I put them on pay? No, you don't need to put them on payments. You have the money. Pay the bill.
Yeah.
It's not, well, I don't know. I'm worried. Well, don't worry. It's $5,000. You have $500,000. You're okay. Pay the bill.
Yeah.
Or if you've got $10,000 and it's $5,000, pay the bill.
Otherwise, it's just taking up space.
Well, and you owe the bill. Hello.
You owe the
Morally,
money. That's
ethically,
right.
It's a thing. It's a debt you owe. Okay. That's thing one. Thing two, then, is once you don't have the money, most companies would rather have something than nothing.
That's right.
I have a company, oddly enough, that it has the word integrity in their company title that owes me $45,000 from 25 years ago. I'm not bitter or anything, but I do remember it. Just because of the irony, the company was called Integrity, and they didn't pay me. And so if they call me up today, and given the fact I'm probably never going to see that money ever,
Facts. Yeah.
but if they call me up today and offer me $5,000 as settlement for that 25, I'm going to take it so fast it's going to be unbelievable. Just because I'm going to be happy I just found $5,000 on the sidewalk. That's the way companies look at this. And so if you've got a credit card bill that you haven't paid for 3 years, They probably have sold that to a debt buyer for pennies on the dollar, usually around a nickel on the dollar, and you can probably settle that for around 20 cents on the dollar. If you're broke and you don't have the money to pay your bills, you can settle. Now, collections agencies, there are several situations with those. The best of the bunch are the local hometown collection agency. They're people that your kids play ball with, their kids. They live there, and they're just trying to collect a bill that is legitimately owed, and they're calling you. And most of them, they'll put pressure on you. They'll say you need to pay your bill. You need to be honest. They'll challenge you. But most of them are pretty decent folks at the core. Okay, all the way on the other end of the spectrum, and it goes downhill from there, is a credit card collector. Credit card collectors 100% are scum. If your child is a credit card collector, you should call them and tell them to stop and get a different job. Cleaning out septic tanks is noble. Credit card collectors, there's nothing. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they break federal law every single day. They're the worst of the worst. And their job, or a repo guy like this other guy calling this other guy, their job is to get the person on the phone. And if you are owed money, most people have some sense of honor, some sense of integrity, that if I owe this money, I feel bad because I've not paid it. 99% of the people walking around that aren't psychopaths have a sense of, I owe this money, and a little bit of shame that I haven't paid it. And their job is to use that and get you emotional. Now, they have two possible emotions they can evoke from you, fear or anger. If they can get you doing either one, your brain, your critical thinking skills in your brain quit working because you're pissed off or you're afraid. You're in fight or flight. And your brain coats and you go into lizard brain mode, and then you will move them from their correct position of priority in your budget, and you'll move them ahead of your children's food. A logical person with good critical thinking skills would never deny their family food or lights or water while paying the repo man. It's not logical. The only way you get there is if you become afraid because they're going to sue me. Oh no! No, they're not. They're lying. You can tell they're lying if their mouth is moving. They're lying. They're lying. They make up stuff. They can sue you, but they never do. Because if they sue you, they have a 98% probability you're going to file Chapter 7, they're going to get 0. No, what they're going to do is harass you to God's green earth, to the end of it. They're going to harass you to make you angry or afraid so that they can reprioritize your budget and put you at the front. It's so absurd that they even use bizarre names. I had a lady call me. Her name was Mrs. Savage.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That was not her name.
That's not real.
That's not her name. Another one called me. Her name was Mrs. Baskerville, as in the hounds of Baskerville. I mean, they make up crap. It's unbelievable. And they sit around in their little cubicle land laughing about all of this like it's some kind of bad movie. And meanwhile, I got a guy trying to feed 2 kids that's working construction over here who's worried more about the repo man than he is the fact that he's behind on his light bill. The only way that happens is you become emotional. So I'm trying to teach you right now. Once I got this, I'll tell you when it happened. American Express called, owed him $1,164. It was 40 years ago, and I still remember the amount. Here's why I remember it. The guy calls me. He pissed me off. I hung up on him. My wife calls about 2 hours later, and she's crying. My wife never cries. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's got the constitution of a Navy SEAL. She does not cry. She's a hillbilly woman. If she cries, somebody died. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't. She's not a crier. She's crying. And she goes, he said, why would I stay with a man that wouldn't pay his bills? And I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Well, you weren't laughing then.
Oh, I got so pissed.
You weren't laughing then,
The guy
Dave.
was in Jacksonville, Florida. I called him. I threatened to drive down there and whip his butt. And I got so mad I couldn't breathe, and I paid him. Who won? He did. Except the fact that now, 40 years later, I have trashed American Express
That's
regularly on the air for 40 years. So maybe he didn't win after all, or at least that company didn't win for having people like that working there, because they have one of the worst, most egregious collections departments of anybody. If you do business with American Express, God help you, that's awful. You're asking for it. They're a pitiful company. I still believe that, not just because of that one event, but I've dealt with them so many times over the years since then on behalf of clients, and they're horrible. But that's just one example. There's many, many examples. But I figured it out then, and then I went, oh, wait, this is a game, and I'm losing the game. And so I just started turning it back on them.
Yeah.
When they would call, I would just start laughing at them and just start messing with them and go, dude, I'm like, Mrs. Baskerville, you're like a well-read collector. Who knew that? I mean, you like read books and stuff. You can do sentences that string together. That's pretty amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
So here's what you're going to get, Mrs. Baskerville. Nuttin', honey.
Nuttin', honey.
You get nuttin'. Good try, though. Call back someday. Hang up.
Yeah.
And you just start having fun with it, because you realize it's a game for them. And for you, it's life or death, and you can't let them make it life or death, or you're going to lose the game.
Listen, I've had some choice words for 1-800-PAY-ME. I'm not proud of it, but I've had them.
Yeah. Well, they got you mad.
Yeah. They did.
They get you mad. They get you upset. They get you, because you're trying to be honorable. You're trying to have integrity. You're trying to do the right thing. You got no money. The guy had no money, okay? He's broke. His car got repoed. Your car does not get repoed if you're rich, okay?
Right.
It's a pretty simple formula here. And they will settle car repo deficits for somewhere around $0.25 on a dollar all day long, every day, lump sum, no payments. Never pay a collector payments, ever. That's how they get the most out of you. Pay them a lump sum, settle it for a dime, $0.25 on the dollar, and get it in writing that that's a settlement in full, or don't give them any money. And do not, for God's sakes, give them electronic access to your checking account, because, again, they lie. They will clean you out. So there's your credit sharks in suits. We used to have a lesson in Financial Peace University 1,000 years ago.
I remember that.
Credit sharks in suits. That was the lesson. And there was a lot of stuff in that little rant there that was in that lesson. But it's what we used to do. I mean, I used to sit personally when I was doing financial counseling, call these people on behalf of the clients and rip them to shreds and get the deals done. But now we teach you how to do it, and that's fine too. So that way you'll never have to do it again. And you never have to do business with companies like American Express again. I've never even accidentally done business with American Express. Ever. Again. Ever again. Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life. Know that we're going to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Dave Ramsey Show, this segment. What we chose to do was to take a segment ever so often through the summer here and up into the month of September, and we'll crescendo in the month of September talking about these things, and then we will cease to bother you with them again. But we wanted to celebrate the 25th anniversary, and it didn't seem appropriate to do it just one single day and taking the whole 3 hours. So instead, we just take a segment every so often and stop and talk about it. We did a town hall broadcast with Ken Coleman, our Ramsey personality, interviewing me on Sirius XM earlier in the week. And I think you can listen to that still. It's online, or you can pick it up and find it if you want to. Talking about the old days and talking about 25 years of doing this. And that was a lot of fun. A whole bunch of you, I think about 500,000 of you, watched it live on Facebook, if I remember right. I think that was the number they gave me. It was a lot of folks anyway. Thank you for that. Thanks for joining us to hang out and do that stuff. One of the things we've learned, and I talk to radio people in the industry all the time about this, people that are starting their first talk show, or that they're struggling to get their talk show off the ground, whether they talk about sports or politics or something like I talk about life and, instruction and helping someone with a category in their life or something like that. One of the things we've found is that radio is, talk radio in particular, is uniquely qualified for what we do. And here's why. Here's what's weird about it. These callers that call in, number one, we never, ever tell a caller what to say.
And 99% of the time, we know very little about what they're going to say. So what happens is Kelly talks to them for a few minutes, tells them, to shut off the noise in the background and talk directly into their phone, because people wander around with their cell phone all around their head and you can't half hear them. And, put the window up on your car. You can't have your air blowing in while you're driving down the interstate. We're all going to hear it, and she teaches them how to basically make the call where we can understand it. And then she gets into the call a little bit, learns about what they want to talk about, but we do not tell them what to call about. And we do not verify in some detailed due diligence the information. So could they be lying? Sure. But most people don't bother to lie. They just tell you the truth. And the fact is, the truth is much more entertaining. Some of these folks, man, the stuff people get into. I mean, you know the calls we've had. It's amazing. But here's what's cool. Because of that, we have had a time or two we told someone had an abusive, violent husband. And we tell them to change their name and change the city that they're calling from, because we don't want to activate this piece of trash husband, right? And that kind of stuff. And so, we'll do some stuff like that. But it just is what it is, And here's the thing: when George calls, or Henrietta calls, I don't know if I've had a Henrietta, but anyway, if whatever name, right, calls, it's kind of anonymous, because we're not on TV. I'm on TV. You can watch me on the app and that kind of stuff, but you don't get to see the person calling. You don't get to see John or I don't know, Rebecca or whoever it is that's calling. You don't get to see them. So it's kind of on their part anonymous. They're kind of behind the curtain, so to speak. And the magic of that is that gives them the courage to tell the truth about what's really going on. And since it's kind of an anonymous thing, Dave, and most of the time I think they use their real names. Most of the time they're telling me their real city and that kind of stuff. But it's kind of anonymous. And so if they're being stupid, or if they've done something really weird or perverted or something, and they talk about it here on the air, it's kind of a safe place to talk about it in a weird way, because there's 14 million people listening, but nobody knows who they are. The chances of one of your friends being, having their car radio on at the moment you call in and actually recognizing your voice and going, I didn't know that about Rebecca, that doesn't come up. I mean, you pretty much have an anonymous counseling session for a few moments here on the air and can tell the truth about what's going on. That anonymity allows us to get real, and get real fast. And I honestly, when I started this, I did not recognize that. I didn't know it. But I've just observed this in 25 years. And what that does is it gives us the ability to give people hope. Because if they get real, we can dig out the root of the weed in their life and show them how to win. And you all get to listen and hear that happen. So this is a serious platform for hope. And it's an intimate medium, isn't it? Because it's one-dimensional, you're just using the audio. You're just using your ears only, not your eyes. You're not seeing body language. You're seeing my body language if you're watching it. But you can't hear the call. You can only hear the caller. And you can tell when they're lying, can't you? They hesitate. They stumble. And you can tell when I've asked the same question 3 times, and they're still dancing and dancing and dancing. And you're like driving along in the car going, he's going to kill you. You better answer the question. You're laughing to yourself, aren't you? You know that's going to, because I'm going to be polite a couple times, but after that, I'm just going to get up in your business, right? And because I'm here to help you. It's what we do. And we have had some really touching calls, some stuff that just made us all just cry. And I had to go to a break. Like the first one I remember the most was a lady in San Antonio. San Antonio's a big military town, of course, and her husband had been killed in Afghanistan in action on Sunday morning. She called me on Monday. Oh my God. And so brave. I mean, her voice wasn't cracking up, but I got tears running down my cheeks. I'm sitting here trying to answer her questions, and I can't breathe. This woman, I mean, she's got 2 little kids, and this young soldier, they got in an ambush, and she's crying a little bit, but she wasn't crying as hard as I was. It was ugly, But why'd she call me? That's weird. It's not weird. She didn't.
Hey Dave, John Maxwell here. We've done a lot of things together over these 25 years that you've had this incredible ministry. And you're known by millions of people as kind of like the finance guy, helping people get their financial act together. But what I appreciate about you, Dave, is this. Behind doing all this expertise in finances, I know why you do it. You really want to help people. You want to add value to people. You really want to make a difference in people's lives. To me, that's the Dave Ramsey I know. That's the Dave Ramsey I love. And I think that's the Dave Ramsey that God has blessed. The man who wants to add value to people.
The one and only John Maxwell. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that very much. We continue with our 25th anniversary celebration. We were talking about the anonymity of calls and how this platform is so powerful for helping people have hope. And hope is an amazing thing. I mean, when you believe you can win because someone shows you how you can win, then you go do the things it takes to win. Pretty cool. And, we're talking about some of the touching calls that we've gotten. I was telling about in the last segment, the lady from San Antonio calling and was talking about her husband having been killed the day before in an ambush in Afghanistan, serving in the military, and how we were privileged to try to give her some information, which, it's grief is weird. When you are dealing with grief, if you have information, I don't know, somehow if you know what is going on and what you're facing, even if it's bad, it gives you some strength to face it. Not knowing about stuff is what will drive you bananas in a grief situation. And I remember another time that we told a lot of funny stories over the last few months of people calling in and crazy stuff people did on the air. But I mean, it's amazing. Another call I got, I remember a guy was in Atlanta, and he called me, and he had just left the oncologist and was just told by his doctor that he had 2 months to live. He had cancer all over him. It had metastasized, and he, stage whatever. I mean, it was bad. And he just left the oncologist, just got this information, was in the car driving home, heard me on the radio, called, pulled over on the side of the interstate. He was on his way home to tell his wife. She didn't know. Call me. What are you calling me for? I can't even imagine. And all he wanted was, he wanted to walk through the basics of an estate plan to make sure. He thought he had all his stuff in place, but he wanted to have that clear in his head because he knew that if his wife knew she was okay and the will was in place and the life insurance was in place and the powers of attorney were in place and the different elements of an estate plan were in place, he knew that if he had that information, that this horrible day, this news he's going to go home and tell his wife, was going to be somewhat more bearable. And so he pulls over the side of the road, and he and I go through the checklist. And, of course, I start with, do you know the Lord? Do you know where you're going? And we go right down the list and, talk about a will, and does he need to update it? And what status is the life insurance in? And what kind of financial position are they in? And so we kind of laid out a plan of how she was going to be financially okay. And once he knew she was going to be financially okay, it helped him deal with his terminal diagnosis. Wow. And he and I are just talking through this like it's some kind of business transaction or something. But this guy's sitting there on the side of the road finding out he's dying. And he got to the end of the call and kind of got choked up, and that's when I lost it. I had to go to a commercial break. I couldn't get through it. I'm just crying like a 13-year-old girl. It was bad. But that's the kind of stuff over the years of doing the show that we've had the privilege, the honor of being involved, being trustworthy enough to be involved in someone's life at some of the worst or some of the best times. We've had people doing their debt-free screams that as soon as they finish their debt-free scream, drops down on one knee and says, "Will you marry me?" And she says yes. And we get all that on film for them. The engagement's all right here in the lobby of Ramsey Solutions. If you were saying you had a financial show, who would have thought something like that would happen? Or these other calls would happen? Which proves to you this is not a financial show. Nobody would participate with those key life things in this show if it was just about money. No, this show's about your dreams. Shows about your fears. Shows about your destiny. And whether or not you're going to get there. And how you're going to get there. And that's why this thing has worked for 25 years. I had one program director call me up in the radio business many years ago, and he said, "Dave, we have to take you off the air." I said, "Why are you taking me off the air? I don't want to lose that city." He goes, "I'm afraid we're going to get sued." I'm like, "Get sued? You're not going to get sued. I'm not saying anything you're going to get sued over. Get somebody out of debt. You think you're going to get sued over that? I mean, really?" He goes, "No, your show is so boring. I'm afraid somebody's going to be driving and fall asleep listening to it and run off the road and have a car wreck, and I'm afraid I'm going to get sued." He was dead serious. That was his way of telling me he was taking me off the air. I was getting fired horribly. He did. He took me off the air, and I'm back on in that city, by the way, and he's not in the radio business anymore, and we're still here. So I guess boring's worked out for us and didn't work out for him. But that's the best one I can remember getting fired. We've gotten thrown off a bunch of stations over the years for all kinds of different reasons, but that one was great. Absolutely fabulous. Back when we only had a handful of stations, there were some idiot. We had a governor that was in Tennessee that was an idiot, and he couldn't balance the budget. And Tennessee has a constitutional command, or whatever you call it, a constitutional requirement of a balanced budget. So if a Tennessee governor says, "We balance the budget," it's because they had to. They don't have a choice. And so, but this guy couldn't balance the budget. He couldn't figure it out. He was spending money left and right, and had all these things he wanted to do. And so he didn't have enough income coming in, so he decided that Tennessee needed a state income tax. Well, I went off on this bozo, and I started taking the state budget apart on the air and going through line by line, and I found out they were spending almost $400 million on putting wildflowers in the median in the interstate. And crap like this. I mean, I'm just ripping these people to shreds. And he's coming out trying to do scare tactics. If you don't pass this state income tax, we're not going to have the money to send kindergartners to school. And the highway patrol is going to not be able to protect you. And the anarchy is going to break out and all this fear-mongering stuff. So I got to tell you, man, me and a couple of other local talk radio hosts, Phil Valentine was on at the time. Steve Gill was on at the time in Nashville, and we went to town on this guy and on this state legislature, and we had people circling the Capitol, honking horns. You couldn't drive in downtown Nashville for the protests. There was no Tea Party in those days. It was before there was a Tea Party, but we said, we're going to do a Tennessee tax revolt, send tea bags to your state senator, your state representative, and to this day, you can smell tea in a lot of those offices. I mean, truckloads of tea was delivered. And it was the biggest uprising I have ever been a part of or ever seen. And we, the people, got all up in their face. Basically ran that guy out of town on a rail. And any of the legislators that were for it didn't get elected the next time through. And last election cycle, we now have passed a constitutional amendment to the state constitution in the state of Tennessee that forbids a state income tax. That anger still lingers in this state, and we were right at the tip of the spear on that. That's the power of a platform like this to activate people. It's pretty cool stuff. It's been a wild 25 years, y'all. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button to get the latest content and check out these other great clips from the show.
The largest investment the largest expenditure that the average family makes is your home, real estate. It is therefore the largest possible blessing and the largest mess you can make. Buying it wrong, buying at the wrong time, not knowing what you're doing. And yet everyone says, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. As soon as you get like 4 years old, they start telling you to buy a house. If you are renting, oh, Lord, you can't be a renter. Oh, renters are awful. Don't be a renter. Renters are bad. You don't want to be a renter, right? And you don't want to be a renter for the scope of your life, but there are times in your life when renting makes more sense than owning. And one of those times is when you're brand new and you're broke and you're young and you don't have any money. When broke people buy houses, you know what it makes them? Broker. That's why they call them mortgage brokers. You get broker and broker and broker. When you're broke and you buy a house, Murphy moves in your spare bedroom. You know, that's the guy, if it can go wrong, it will. And he brings his 3 cousins, broke, desperate, and stupid, with him. The hot water heater goes out. The roof leaks. The dog gets run over in the street. Your life looks like a country song, you know? And it's what happens when you're broke and you buy a house. House is not a blessing for broke people. Because actually the month to month, month in and month out, it can be more expensive to own than to rent. Because if that $4,000 heat and air system goes out and you're a renter, you call the landlord and go, dude, your heat and air system's out. And they just send somebody magically over there to fix it, don't they? Isn't that interesting? But otherwise, you got to wring your hands and come up with $4,000. And that's very real stuff. So, to start with, let's just establish when it comes to real estate that renting is not a bad thing when you have a plan to get yourself together financially. You need to be out of debt. You need to have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Then save up your down payment. But a lot of people get all hot and bothered and they say stupid stuff like, well, this is stupid. If you've ever said this, you were stupid. I've said it. I was stupid. When I said it, I was stupid. And when you said it, you were stupid. Are you ready for this? Well, you know, the house payment's the same as the rent payment, so why wouldn't I own? See, that's stupid. Because you left out the $4,000 heat and air system. You left out the taxes go up and the insurance goes up. And you left out ... And so, you know, it's really not cheaper. And it is in the long run because houses go up in value. And in the long run, the payment, if you take a good fixed rate mortgage, doesn't go up and rent does go up. So in the long run, owning is a good idea. But on the short term, for the first year you own, it's cheaper to rent. Most cases, anyway. Well, you can't find people start coming around. They start throwing around all these absolute fatalism crap, and like I was forced. There's just nothing in this whole city. Like your city is weird or something. There, your city's. I mean, it's just everybody's got a place to rent. So when you buy and you put the house on a 15-year fixed rate mortgage, you basically have a forced savings plan. That's one of the benefits of owning. You also have, because, you know, as you're paying the principal down, you've got this money built into the house called equity. Your equity is what the house is worth minus what you owe on it. And the equity increases as you pay down the mortgage, obviously. It's also an inflation hedge. Now, most of you have not lived in inflationary times, but I remember inflationary times. When I got my real estate license in 1978, inflation was running 12% a year on houses. That meant a house went up 1% a month in cost or value. Cost if you were a buyer, value if you were a seller, right? And so if you own property and inflation kicks in, the primary element of inflation is housing. There's other stuff, car gas and the cost of bread and that kind of stuff. But really, the cost of housing is your primary element. It's one of the largest chunks of inflation, and you are getting that to your benefit when you're an owner. And, of course, your home grows tax-free up to $500,000. It's a tax-free investment. $500,000 married filing jointly is the profit you can make on a personal residence if you've owned it 2 years or more. That's pretty cool. So there's a lot of reasons to buy. When you get ready to buy, don't buy the top of the neighborhood. Buy the bottom range, the bottom half of the neighborhood. You'll get better appreciation there and a better chance of resale when you do get ready to move. And when I took my very first appraisal class in the real estate business, the guy teaching the class said there's 3 things that create value in real estate: location, location, and location. I've seen a single-wide mobile home sitting on a piece of dirt that brought over $1 million in Malibu, just north of L.A. Yeah, and some of your really, really nice houses aren't worth $1 million. So that's all about the location. Now, it wasn't the mobile home that did that. It was the piece of dirt. It's freaking Malibu's expensive, you know. Per square foot, there's nothing more expensive in the U.S. right now than Manhattan. And so those of you that are our friends listening in New York, you got location, location, location. When you're picking out a home, if you can find something with a view, it's up on a little bit of a rise, a little bit of a hill, or in the case of Tennessee, or those of you out in the Rockies, up on a big hill, that view is worth. You ever heard of $1 million view? Yeah, that's where that saying comes from. People pay extra for a view. And if you're on or near the water. We have a little neighborhood right here just down the street from our office that's been there since I was a kid. It's 100 years old, you know. It's called Meadow Lake. Now, the lake is no more a lake than Flat of the Moon. It's a freaking pond, okay? It's a little bitty pond, but it's called a lake because this builder built houses around it a bazillion years ago. The houses on one side of the street are, quote, on the lake. The houses on the other side of the street are not on the lake. You would not believe how much more the ones on this pond, lake, bring more than the ones across the street. If you've ever bought real lakefront property or beachfront property, you know, if you're across the street from the house that's on the beach or across the street, it's a whole lot cheaper. Real estate, this half real estate. I love real estate as an investment. I built several homes and grew up in the real estate business. Got my real estate license when I turned 18 years old, 3 weeks after I turned 18, way back in 1978. Yeah. So, so I've done a bunch of real estate deals, and to me, it's all just a house. I don't really get all torqued out about certain pieces of dirt. Some people get all twisted up about dirt or a certain piece of property or, you know, that kind of a thing. I mean, there's things that I'm nostalgic about for sure, and thinking about, but you know, it's just a house, and there's one on every corner. They're everywhere, and there's another one. So you need to just slow down and not get house fever when you're buying, and you get all stressed out. Like right now, people are running around there. You know, there's like multiple offers coming on a listing because some of these markets are white hot, and people get stupid. Just slow down. It's the largest purchase decisions. You know, people get in line to buy. They can't decide whether to buy Eclipse gum or buy, you know, Dentine. And they get all paralysis of the analysis about their breath or something. It takes them 30 minutes to make a decision on gum. And then on the way home, they impulse a car. You know? See, that's backward. You just, it's gum. You're not going to be pretty when you chew it anyway. You're just you. So shut up. Get the gum. It's just gum, you know? And then slow down on these big decisions. So when you're buying a house, do not buy the top of the neighborhood. I just had a discussion with one of my leaders, stopped by my office a while ago, said she was looking at a new home, a really nice property, and just concerned about the neighborhood, wondered if what I thought about it. It's a great neighborhood. I think she'll do great there. But my first question is, you're not buying the top of the market. Don't buy the top of the market in that neighborhood. Don't buy the most expensive home in the neighborhood because it's harder to sell. People are not looking for that house, that price range when they go to that neighborhood. They're looking for a notch or two down. And you want to be in that notch or two down. You'll get better appreciation and have a better chance of selling it when you do that. And remember, like we said before the break, there's 3 things that affect property values: location, location, and location. And in every city, there are those invisible lines. You ever hear somebody say, I grew up across the tracks? On the other side of the railroad is that railroad track was an invisible line. And on one side of the railroad was where the poor people were, and on the other side was where they weren't. And that's what they mean by across the tracks, right? And so that's, you know, that's what you're looking at. And you don't know where those tracks are if it's a city you don't know. I mean, you can look around sometimes. There's some telltale signs the way the neighborhood is kept up or something. But I grew up in a neighborhood where it was nice brick homes built in the 60s, typical suburban neighborhood. And these houses, you know, when I was 16 years old, they were selling for $45,000. Now they'd sell for 145 probably, or 100 or 180 or something like that. But say they were selling for $45,000. Strangest thing, the exact same house, same time frame built, actually a little bit older, was right across the main drag a mile away. There's a main drag, you know, a main artery of traffic running north and south through our city. And on one side of that artery, that same house brought $5,000 less, which is 10% less. It'd be 51,000 on one side of the artery and 45,000 on the other. It's 10% swing, but square footage, you know, the items that you find in the home, the quality of construction, the age, everything was very, very similar. The only difference was one was on one side of the road and one was on the other, and it was perceived, for whatever reason, to be slightly cooler to be on that side of the street. And people would pay for it. And people paid for it because people paid for it. And that's how location enters into this. And again, we said be near water when you can, and be near a view or with a view or on the water when you can. You're always going to see much better returns there and have a much more likelihood of selling there. You're buying bargains. When you're buying a house, you look for things that people can't look past. The average buyer can't look past the minor things. And minor things are things you can fix easily, like carpet or paint color or a gutter hanging off. You can put a set of gutters on a house for nothing. And I hope I find the gutter hanging off and the weeds are tall. Oh, darn. Buy a lawnmower, you know, and get a deal on the property, you know. And you can buy like a whole truckload of lawnmowers for what you save on this property. Matter of fact, you could hire people to cut the grass for you with what you save on the property, right? So, but, you know, take things like that. I used to go into a property. I would love seeing something that was very poorly decorated, or it was a mess. The lady didn't keep house well. That means there was a bargain, because the typical person can't look past the unmade beds and the Elvis print over the master bedroom bed, you know. And you remember the old 1970s green shag carpet? We actually had rakes that we raked the carpet. Do y'all remember that? Yeah, I used to look for that rakeable carpet, because that meant it was old, right? And and it was nasty usually. And you could put carpet in a house for nothing compared to getting a bargain on the house. Now, I want a deal. I'm talking substantial discount. But these are all aesthetic things, paint, carpet, that kind of thing. Even a roof, you can put a roof on a house. Most of the time, that's not that killer. All right, here's the one I love in the South. It's got termites! And people just pass out and flop in the floor and foam at the mouth and everything else. It's crazy. Let me just tell you, there's termites everywhere in the South. It's humid, and they're everywhere. And you need a termite ladder, and you want to make sure the house hasn't been torn down by termites. But again, I've owned almost 2,000 pieces of property. The number of times I've seen a house that was completely destroyed by termites, that someone just didn't notice the house was falling down, you know, is almost zero. But I have bought deals on houses because people got emotional. It's got termite infestation. It cost me $3,000 to fix 5 boards. And I bought the house $40,000 or $50,000 off because everybody got emotional about a couple of white bugs. Spray the crap out of them with a termite company and you know, replace 4 boards and put an exterminator in there. It's not that big a deal. You know, it's not. Now, you, again, inspect it, make sure it's not falling down around your ears. But these things that people get completely torqued out about are where you find your bargains. What you don't buy is what we said earlier, a house that's ugly. If it's got bad bones and it's ugly from the street, don't buy it. It's not going to get prettier. And it's not paint color. We're talking the way it's built. That house should not have been on that lot. It's poorly designed. It's got the wrong columns. It's got the wrong front porch, the wrong elevation. It just looks like crap. And you know what? It's going to look like crap the whole time you live there. And when you get ready to sell it, it's still going to look like crap. People are going to stand in the street and go, that's the ugly house. And they're going to want a discount. a deep discount. You thought you got a bargain, but you're going to turn around and give somebody else a bargain to get rid of it. I've owned a couple of those. They're bad news. Don't do that. And the same thing's true with a bad floor plan. Some of these people, they do what we call country house. They keep adding on rooms, and there's no architecture. And so you end up walking through 2 bedrooms to get to a bathroom and all this crap, and it's just got bad walls. You know, the thing is just pieced together. It's like, we'll bolt this on here, we'll bolt this on here. Like a bunch of people drank 2 cases of beer and then came up with an idea on how they're going to add on to the house. You know, it's a bad idea. So don't get into that. Use good real estate agents. They're worth their money. Use a home inspector. Always get an appraisal. And always buy title insurance. Never buy a property without title insurance. It's worth every dime. There's a couple of pointers for your real estate class for the day, right here on The Dave Ramsey Show.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button to get the latest content and check out these other great clips from the show.